I want to go to the announcement that was made yesterday, and which is part of the discussion today, as you can see, with the leaders, Ontario leaders, answering questions about handgun ban and what's going on with the state of crime in the province of Ontario. This is something that most of them have not made it much of an election issue, except Stephen Del Duca, the Liberals. But yesterday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he unveiled a new legislation, essentially talking about presenting Bill C-21, which is, in a sense, it is going to halt handgun sales, imports, but stop short of a complete and total ban. This was an announcement made, and which is what, and the buyback program, which was speculated to be announced yesterday under Bill C-21, which was an election platform for the Liberals in the last federal election just last year in 2021. This was something that was not unveiled yesterday, and Marco Mendicino, well, essentially said that this is something that the federal government would take a look at after there's consultation with industry leaders in the area. But this is something that Stephen Del Duca was asked about today, about what he thinks about the federal plan, which is different than his plan, which is a complete ban and also a buyback program. I want to take you to Justin Trudeau's announcement right now so you can see for yourself what his announcement, and we'll come back and we'll talk about what this new legislation means.
We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. What this means is that it will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada. In other words, we're capping the market for handguns. As a further part of this new legislation, we're also fighting gun smuggling and trafficking by increasing maximum criminal penalties and providing more tools for law enforcement to investigate firearm crimes. And we'll require the permanent alteration of long gun magazines so they can never hold more than 5 rounds. These are actions that doctors, experts, and chiefs of police have been calling for years, and we're acting on their advice. I also want to thank the advocates, many of whom are here today, for your tireless efforts. I know that for too many of you, grief and loss are at the root of the work that you do. I want to recognize that, and on behalf of all Canadians, I want to thank you for your strength. Merci.
That's Bill C-21. Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, is talking about a freeze on handgun sales, imports, but not a complete ban, and also saying people who already have the handgun obviously legally, they're okay. This is for future purchases. So this is in between line where it's not going to affect the existing legal owners of handguns. But this is something that he's talking about for future, which is middle of the road, essentially saying that this bill will provide significant tools to reduce the number of handguns in the communities, to protect people from violent gun attacks, as we've been seeing what's been happening in the United States and here in Canada. We do have 2 stories to cover today with teenagers at high school, and this also allegedly involves guns as well. Yeah, so I want to get into it. So essentially, the Bill C-21 would allow for automatic removal of gun licenses from people who have committed domestic violence or engaged in criminal harassment, such as stalking. This is also allowing officials to put a red flag law that would allow courts to require people to be considered a danger to themselves and to surrender their firearms. So these are people who have legal licenses to be able to have handguns, and this will cover Bill C-21. And Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino, who answered questions after Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's announcement yesterday essentially said that they will also introduce a mandatory buyback program of assault-style weapons, and that is going to follow soon after consultation, although it was part of the Liberal election platform in 2021. And when it comes to the firearms, well, what this is previously the government had talked about automatically prohibited weapons from the market in the future, and this is something that they say that they're going to do. But right now, this is a soft step, it seems, in towards that. And now there's a lot of issue about is this going to actually solve the problem when it comes to gun violence? As we know, majority of these incidents on the streets with killings are with unregistered handguns that are obtained in the black market illegally. These are not people who have certified and registered their handgun and purchased them through legal means. What we see in the statistics that are popping up throughout even the streets of Toronto are with illegal handguns. And so this is part of the strategy to understand what is the plan, how will they address it. And when it comes to mass shootings, I read an article by Jerry Agar, who's a pundit and radio host on News Talk 1010. Well, he wrote on the Toronto Sun today, and it's a good article where he talks about people who purchase a gun to go in for mass shootings, which is what we saw in Buffalo at that supermarket where 10 black people were shot just for being black by an 18-year-old who has identified himself as a white supremacist, or what we also saw in Texas, where another 18-year-old shot 19 children and 2 adults, also with a weapon. Now, Jerry Agar's article talks about people who have the need to go into mass shooting and purchase a weapon to do so. Now, if there is a handgun ban, will that just divert them? And I was listening to his interview this morning, and he was saying, well, would that divert them? And they would say, okay, well, I don't have a handgun, so I won't go on a mass shooting spree. I'll just go home and watch TV. Essentially, that's probably wouldn't be the case. And what he talks about is there is the how people were killed, but there's also taking a look at what's actually happening in the psyche of the people who are committing these horrendous crimes, and the mental health strategies are something that's very important, and also the background checks that need to take into place, and how readily available it is to purchase guns in the black market illegally, and what does that mean when it comes to the import of these illegal guns that are smuggled into the country. So it's about addressing some of those factors as well, and empowering police forces and border guards to be able to handle that, and information sharing as well, which is very important. So this is an ongoing debate, and what was announced is a solution, a part of a small solution to this big problem that we are seeing happen here in Canada, as well as our neighbors across the border. And